let's take a moment and do a little project together. Does that sound like fun? I think it would be great. I'm going to make some little cards. They're called ATC cards, and a lot of people don't know what that means. What is ATC? That is artist trading cards, and it's a specific size, 2.5 by 3.5 inches, and these size cards. So what I've done is I've made several backs. This is just on a card that I have here, and I've gone ahead and put something for the background on it to get started. And that's a little tip for you. If you just don't feel like, oh, I don't want to drag everything out, I don't feel like making something, just taking a moment to be creative any way, that you do, any way that you find is very relaxing. So take a moment and get yourself cut out the 2.5 by 3 if you want to do that size. What I love to do is basically, let me grab this here. I like this size. I don't have to cut it. I can get it at the art store. It's a 4 by 6. It's perfect to make a little card with. And so I love to use those. It gives me enough space. But a lot of people do like these ATCs, these artist traded cards. They like to collect them and share them. And they're fun to kind of pass out to friends and to give to them. So I'm going to take a minute and let's make one together. I'm going to put my camera down. So join me. All right, you're now looking at my art table. And this is the paper that I used. It's double-sided, beautiful on each side. And I just cut out the 2.5 by 3.5 size. I actually glued a card. I like to pass these out, obviously, to individuals. And so I make a little piece of art on them. Now, and let's start a project. All right. I took this, and this is tissue paper. This is a kind of a cool little trick, is to draw on the tissue paper. If you want to, I just traced from another template that I had, a flower onto this, and then I'm ripping it out. And for those of you that are new to this, many of you know why, but if you don't have any clue, why is she ripping this? Why isn't she cutting it? Cutting gives you a straight edge, and so but ripping, it tends to blend in nicely. You don't notice it as well as you do a sharp, straight edge. So if you notice artists are ripping their things, that is the reason that they're doing that. All right, we've got that little flower I can put on there. I've got a second one. I might just do that. Just make it flowers. I have some other cute. Here it is. I pulled these out of a gardening. This month for September, the theme in this group is gardens and harvest and gardening, etc. So I'm just doing things that will go along with that theme. Nature. Here's a beautiful little bird. That would be pretty on here too. So you could, pull out some magazines. Look at these butterflies. I think, and this garden stuff here. Isn't that pretty? So that'd make a gorgeous. What I will do is let's just try that for a second and see what that's like. We'll kind of play and see which one. Well, I've got several pages here, so. But I love this cute little picket fence. And let's see, let's go to about there with that. Of course, this I'm cutting because this is going to be along the bottom edge. So there we go. You could do something like that and then take the little butterflies and plop around those. But these make great to put little statements on it, just to give you an idea. So don't get hung up if I can't draw. There are so many other options. All right. Let me finish up with this one though, because I do love using these tissues, There we go. We're going to put those two together like that. And I use my mixed media, matte medium. Put that down. Now, taking words of encouragement, things that inspire you, and going that second step of actually illustrating them some way or putting them into a visual helps your mind remember them, because your mind works by images. So when you put that, let's go ahead and pull that off a little bit more. Okay, I'm going to go this direction with this one. All right. So that's what I love about being able to take our art or creativity, creating something, and then as you add your message to it, you're actually helping your mind, reinforcing it into your mind, so that it becomes, the goal is to make it stronger than what the thought is that you're trying to get rid of, or that you're trying to get change. Ooh, I love that. See, you can't even see that tissue on there. All right, close that up. Clean that off. Now, let's take a second and give that a little dry, and then I'm going to grab some paints and just paint it. All right, now let's see. I'm going to grab my paints. I'm going to put these maybe in a little bit of a pale green. I've pulled out a couple of colors here. This is buttermilk. This one is blush pink if I want to use that. But I've got these greens because these hydrangeas, I love when they make that little green flower. Besides being the blue and whatever, but sometimes they're green, and I think they're just beautiful. So let me get my water out and get my little palette, something I can put paint on. There we go. All right, let's start with the green. Put that on. So just craft paints, they're just acrylics. You don't need very much. This is very small. Let me find this little tiny brush. Okay. We'll just mix that up a little bit and start adding that in here. Keep this kind of quick project. Something though that I can just take a few minutes in the day. And you could actually, I think, use like watercolor pencils on this or something else. Because you've used that matte medium over the top rather than, some people use Mod Podge. But the matte medium makes it so that it's not really, it gives it a tooth so that the other, if you want to put something else on top, it'll stick to it. That is why I love to use matte medium over something like that. Okay, great. Now let's take this buttermilk and I'm going to lighten a few areas. So take some of that and mix it in with that. Let's make it lighter. Okay. Just tapping in. Another thing is, if you didn't want to, draw it on like the tissue paper like I've done, is go ahead and cut it out. You'd have to fussy cut, I would think, and place it on there. Okay. Come back in here and lay over. There. Okay. Now, I think for the centers, we'll take this. Ooh, a lot of that came out, so clean that off so it doesn't stick. I'm going to mix some of the green in, grab that green, in with this. It's called blush pink, but when you start mixing two complements, red and green are complements, you create, it'll start kind of muddying them out, which I want it to be a little bit of a brown, but just a little bit in there. But because it's coming from the two together, there we go. Just with my brush, go ahead and give it stem. Okay, I'm going to dry that. Look, that's how fast and easy that was. Come back in. I'm going to come back in and do some of the black again, but you really want to make sure that everything's dried. You don't want, cool that off. Otherwise you will ruin your markers. So, come back in here with the black and fill back in some of these areas where the centers were. Helps to kind of give it a little definition. I'm not going to use this one to outline though, because it's thicker and I don't want thick lines. I want to keep them thin and delicate. I'll pick up my micron. And if you want, you don't have to, but if you feel like you want a little more definition to bring those, if you painted over something, you're like, oh, I want to see that flower a little bit more than what I see there, you can come back in. Put some of the petals back in. Like I'm doing right here. Okay. And I'm going to go ahead and outline around this. Putting that dark in like this, it builds that contrast so that things stand out. There we go. Let's do the lining on this. And I'm going to go ahead and I've looked up in my creative reminders, a statement that I want for myself. And there's lots of them, but I'm going to pull out. I am taking the beauty from every experience and adding upon it. Okay, let's write that in here. Let's see. Might want to use a regular pen. I'm going to see if the regular pen will work. This is a brown. Make sure everything's dry so you don't smudge it. Okay. I am now this could actually be, you could type this out if you wanted to so that it's a little bit easier maybe to read, or you could do the same thing, write it out on the tissue paper and then put it down. The pen, because of the surface of what I have, it's a little bit hard to, let's go back to this. And 5. There it is. I have a 005. Very tiny. It's not working. Let's go back to this 05. There we go. The beauty. Sometimes I do like to, just write things out on the tissue and then just overlay it on top. Just do the same thing like I did with the flower. I'm taking the beauty from every experience and adding upon it. I can learn from all things. And then I'll go ahead and even date it. just so I know. And there's my little card ready. Put it in my journal, put it somewhere, but it's a great reminder for me. Pack it with me in my purse. Isn't that cute? I am taking the beauty from every experience and adding upon it. I can learn from all experiences. So as I think about that and ponder on that, that reinforces that positive thought in my mind. All right. All right, so take a look. Go to my website, kathyfreemanart.com. And right here, kathyfreemanart.com. And click on the menu for my memberships. Take a look at it, and I hope you will join us.